me start the recording. Switch screens. All right. Welcome back, guys, to our 21st session of Ophion. I don't actually have any announcements this time. Captain, if you're ready with your log, we can just go ahead and jump right in.
All right. Captain's log, stardate 55324.2. I'm submitting formal commendations to Lieutenant Junior Grade Zeb, Ensign Quakenbush, and Senior Chief Tin for their efforts against the Jem'Hadar that ambushed us near Breen Space. I have also authorized a pay raise for bartender Srika for the same reason. I'm unsure about Sfarja's, though, not being Starfleet or a civilian contractor. I have authorized her access to her weaponry, though. I hope that will be sufficient. The captured Vordra Daedrid has been the captured Vorta Daedrid has been cooperative. However, for crew morale, I've ordered him to be kept in the brig until we can return him to Deep Space Daedalus. It seems that the Jem'Hadar were running low on their Ketracel White, causing them to become desperate. It's a shame. If they had only communicated their needs, we may have been willing to help them. Alas, that is not in their nature. As we continue our investigations along the star map that has been provided to us by the Freja, we are approaching the symbol on the star grid that appears to be a Takan in origin. Svarja translates the symbol as generator, which is both helpful but still frustratingly vague. Still, though, it's more information than we had before. Let's see what happens. End log.
All right. As you might have guessed by the start date, there, of course, is about I would say about 2 to 3, if not longer, weeks between last session and this one. Um, and I'd like to kind of give you a little bit of a brief blurb what happened to your main characters while the whole supporting character thing last week was going on. So basically, all of you were, well, except for Mirthrin. So Panek, Skull, and Locke. You guys on the bridge were pretty much disarmed and held captive in the conference room pretty much within 30 seconds of the Jem'Hadar attack. Mirthrin, main engineering lasted a little bit longer just because it's a bigger space, but you two were kind of, held hostage. The good news is that none of you suffered any major injuries. Some little bit of battering and bruising, but nothing that Mirthrin couldn't, or not Mirthrin, Beckett couldn't fix. And yeah, you are completely back to full health. Uh, no really ill effects from the whole Jem'Hadar raid, other than maybe a healthy sense of paranoia. And with that in mind, I would like to open up towards anyone's bits of RP they'd like to get done before we start the storyline proper. So, does anyone have anything?
Um, I think we probably have like Mirthrin back in engineering, following the whole fracas, and just sort of do, is sort of as aware that his frame of mind sort of rubs off on Zenixia and is trying and failing to sort of get back to normal and pretend everything's fine when actually he's really shook up.
Well, I would say that it's probably a fair bet then that Zenixia will sense this, and as you all are working, she just kind of looks over to you and says, "Is everything all right, Lieutenant Commander?"
Yes, of course, Specialist Zenixia. No, uh, no, it isn't. I'm sorry. I've been out of sorts ever since the Jem'Hadar attack.
That was quite a harrowing experience.
Mm, yeah. It was 5 seconds, and it was all just straight back to the Dominion War again.
She just kind of doesn't really know how to respond to that because, of course, she wasn't a part of the Dominion War, but she does kind of still look at you with a look of concern.
Now, I've probably mentioned this to you before, but well, war leaves its scars, and I don't think there's anyone on the ship who doesn't have bad memories of the Jem'Hadar ships tearing through friends and family. It's well, I mean, we're at peace now, and the founders are content to sue for peace, and the Jem'Hadar do their bidding for the most part. But like, 4 years of conflict will leave a mark.
I suppose I can understand from a practical, or not from a practical standpoint. The last war that the Slaw really experienced was so long ago that we really don't even have records on it.
I mean, before this, I mean, don't think anything this destructive since the Klingon War. I mean, unless you count the Borg, but the Borg don't really count as a opponent in a war, more like a galactic virus.
She just kind of shrugs, and it's at this moment that Prag actually walks over to you and says, Sir, I've compiled the report on why the security holograms didn't activate. I think I found the culprit.
Oh, good. Was it what we thought it was?
If you mean the fact that the security program was disabled at a command level, then yes.
Okay. I'm gonna have a talk with the captain about that.
I thought you might. That's why I've compiled everything I can tell about who might have done the lockout, but strangely, it doesn't really seem to be tied to any one individual.
It's just a generic code.
Something like that, yes.
Concerning. I'll bring it up with the captain at the next meeting.
Bragg just, sort of nods and goes back to whatever he was doing at the current moment.
Yep. I think part of what left such a scar on the Federation is that by nature we're not warriors. Like we are not wolves. We are sheep who learn to put on the skin of wolves, and sometimes I get scared we forget to take it off.
So Nixia does kind of give a small laugh and says, I think you all are doing a wonderful job of taking off the clothing, I think.
Well, the vote of confidence is appreciated.
Of course. Speaking of which, I've been meaning to get your opinion on this. And she just kind of shows you a schematic, something she's working on. It's involving the power conduits on Deck 7. It's nothing too amazing, but, it's kind of one of those little pet projects where normal maintenance wouldn't cover it, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. And we're always looking to sort of tweak that choke point.
Mm-hmm. But yeah. All right. That scene out of the way. Anyone else?
I'll just have some bridge banter.
Sure, we can always go for some bridge banter. Let's see. Oof. Back on the bridge.
Lieutenant Commander.
Yes, Captain.
It's my understand. If I got the schedule right, it's almost time for our next talent night. I've been.
I believe you were referring to the cultural night.
Correct. I don't know why it's called. Some of the crew's taken to calling it talent night, but cultural night works. Is its official designation. I've taken some influence, how shall we say, from Tezzy, the opera singer. Do you think the crew would it help or hinder morale if I sang opera?
Well, considering the recent attack and the lowered crew morale, I do not think we need to subject them to that, Captain. They're already rent and broken.
And Shatsu kind of chimes in and says, "Sir, with all due respect, I believe that would be a violation of the Geneva Convention, or whatever the 24th century equivalent of their such would be."
Okay, perhaps bluegrass.
I believe you're going to have to seek someone else's opinion in his regards, Captain.
Apparently so. As soon as I figure out who keeps taking my guitar, there's going to be some repercussions around here.
I'll look at that Shatsu.
She just shrugs and gives a, "Don't look at me. I didn't take it."
Panek will get a text message. Guitar is disabled from the captain's replicator.
I just send back an acknowledgement.
I just look at the back of Sona's head. Sona, sometimes I think that you're the only person on this ship I can trust.
She does turn her head a little bit and says, "As the Vulcans would say, that is perhaps the logical conclusion."
Very well. Mr. Locke, how far until we reach this Takan symbol? Or I should ask Sona, I suppose. Sona, you're the navigator. I'm waking up from my nap, I'm sorry. How long until we reach the Takan structure?
About an hour, sir. We should be getting into long-range scanner range right about now. And yeah, Locke, if you would care to do a bog standard sensor scan. Again, that is reason plus science, and the ship is assisting with sensors plus science. This is difficulty 0 because this is just a free momentum generator.
A civilization advanced as the progenitors would need to generate massive amounts of energy on a scale far beyond what we're capable of. I'm looking forward to seeing and studying what this generator has to offer.
Agreed. I am concerned about its proximity to Breen space, and also worried that there might be some more Jem'Hadar out here, even though our friend and the brig has claimed to have been operating alone.
Who's rolling for the ship? Also, who's keeping track of momentum?
I'll do momentum.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for the ship.
Oh,
I'm
you
just
can do
waiting
it?
for the ship to roll. Oh, you can do momentum there, Panek. Or
Yeah,
no,
sen-
you can do the ship roll.
sensors Sensors and con?
Sensors and science for the ship. All right, so you guys are starting off with 3 momentum. Very nice. All right, so Locke, this is what you get. You see that the upcoming K96Z system, it has not been named, so it just has kind of the quote-unquote unofficial, naming convention. But it contains several items of interest. It contains 2 class-wide demon planets, as well as a single class L, and all of these are orbiting a Sol-like star. And if the coordinates you have are correct, then it's the L-class planet that you're after. However, there's something that really catches your attention immediately besides these planets, because it is a massive energy signature. But it's not coming from one of the planets. It's coming from what appears to be a massive ship in system. And even this far out, you're able to determine that it is easily a kilometer long and wide, and is putting off so much radiation that you're able to determine even this far out that it seems to be using some sort of an unshielded, if not crude, fission-powered impulse drive. And yeah, that's what I'll give you for that. Of course, you can spend momentum to ask questions.
Chief Tin, can you modulate the shields to counter this radiation?
Well, sir, I believe that our deflectors should be able to handle it.
Thank you.
Very well. Bring us out of warp at the system's edge. Is there any indication? I guess I have to spend momentum to ask the questions.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm going to spend a momentum.
Okay. What's the question?
Whereabouts in the system is the ship in relation to the planets? And does it appear to be moving?
At the moment, it seems to be in orbit above the first planet, one of the Class Ys. It goes YLY, so, the Class Ys are planets 1 and 3, and the Class L is planet 2. Um, yeah, it doesn't seem to have done anything yet. It's just kind of, standard orbit.
With my free science officer question,
Mm-hmm.
asking this again because I was muted, does it appear to be a known species, the craft? Does it seem like Breen, for example?
It does not. Both the technology level and the configuration of the vessel matches none on record.
Shall I attempt to hail them, Captain?
I was planning to do that once we drop out of warp.
Establishing a channel.
Unknown vessel. This is the Captain Barton Skull of the USS Ophion, representing the United Federation of Planets. We are explorers coming to this system. Are you able to understand us?
There is a pregnant pause, and then Locke, you're determining, based on again your sensor scans and the fact that it's putting off a metric fuck ton of radiation. The ship has begun to break orbit and head towards the edge of the system where you are currently projected to arrive.
Captain, it's heading towards us. It's on an intercept course.
Very well. Raise shields.
Raising shields, Captain.
Still no sign of a hail from it.
At least there's something or someone sentient aboard.
I suggest we attempt to maneuver out of their path to see if they correct.
That sounds wise. Miss Sona, please adjust our course a couple AU.
All right. So someone needs to roll for Sona. We'll say the task here is a control plus con. The difficulty will be a 2.
I can do that.
Okay.
Control.
Will the ship be assisting?
Sure, why not? Let's get you guys some more momentum. How about engines plus con from the ship?
Oh, Sona not. So
Yeah, I
good.
would say, but since Sona didn't get any successes, that's going to be a big negative on the ship.
She needs a software upgrade.
Yeah, so Sona does do her best to change your incoming vector, but after probably about 10 minutes, she again kind of turns her head slightly and says, Sir, no matter what vector I try, it seems that the unknown entity or unknown alien is matching us par for par, which is surprising, sir, given that it's a kilometer long ship.
Lieutenant Locke, can you try to establish if they are using a method of communication outside the norm?
Right. I would like to scan the crap out of the ship specifically, find that or anything else I can get.
Okay. So it would be another, sensor scan, but I would like to introduce a mechanic because it is going to come relevant. So anytime you scan or use any of the ship sensors against this alien vessel, it is reduced in difficulty by 1 simply because there's so much radiation putting off that it kind of blooms everything on the sensor scans. Now, obviously, if you try to scan the fission impulse drive itself, there might be an increased difficulty because of the sheer magnitude of radiation. But in general, it reduces by difficulty in 1. So for this instance, it would normally be a difficulty 2, but it's reduced to a difficulty 1. And again, that is reason plus science from Locke and sensors and science for the ship.
Okay.
All right, we do have a success, but we do also have a complication. Does the ship aid or hinder here is the question.
Who's rolling for ship? I can
Yeah,
do
so-
that.
Yeah.
What was it again?
Sensors and science.
I don't like rolling for the ship, but I'm already rolling for my character.
There we go.
Nope. Actually, why don't you re-roll that one and we'll use a power to break out our new fancy sensors.
Which one?
Just re-roll the ship.
Yeah, because you do have the chronoton sensors thanks to Matic. All right, so you guys get a momentum, which could be relevant because you may need it for questions. So I'm going to give you 2 bullet points, and of course you can ask questions. So Locke, you're able to determine that this ship doesn't seem to possess deflector shielding. Instead, it's very similar to the old NX craft, where it kind of has multiple layers of hull plating that can be polarized to resist attack. You're also able to detect that the main armament of the ship, best you can tell, is a gigantic beam weapon cluster that runs the whole length of the ship. Of course, without getting closer and using your normal sensors, you're not able to determine the type of beam weapon. But given the size and the power readings you're getting, your best guess is it's comparable to a phased polaron beam. And if you're not familiar with the technobabble, that would be the same as a Dominion kind of phaser or bank. But there is some good news here. It seems that this beam is only able to be fired at targets directly in front of the ship. However, the ship does not seem to have any blind spots because you're also detecting a multitude of torpedo tube clusters.
All right, so missile boat and an anti-capital beam.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reminded of the Zavwas ship when we first encountered them. We incorrectly believed them to be heavily armored and armed, but that was merely for their mining operation.
Yes, and these are, given what we understood of their travel capability, this seems awfully far for one of their vessels.
My point, Captain, was that we should be hesitant to judge the configuration of the ship prematurely.
Agreed. They were also around a Class Y, correct?
Correct.
Or was that so? It's possible that they were mining vessels of similar, different race but similar mining interests.
From the design of the weapon, can I discern if it's meant for mining or offense?
This I'm assuming you're using your free science question, yeah?
Yes, for that one.
Okay. I do have to answer this truthfully. So yeah, best you can tell, it is a weapon, not a mining beam.
So, Captain, I do not believe this is the case. That is the case in this instance. Also, they are heavily armored with torpedoes everywhere, which would be highly unlikely in a mining vessel. This is very certainly a dreadnought type ship.
Very well. Miss Sona, let's try our best to stay away from the bow of that vessel.
Understood, sir. And then she turns to Locke and says, "Do you have a firing arc in mind?"
Not as of yet. I'd suggest, I'd honestly just say keep to the sides, to the flank, away from the front, and get ready to launch any countermeasures for the many, many torpedoes that might target us.
Understood. I will do our best to keep us perpendicular to them.
I have continued to send hails on all known frequencies and combinations, including the Zavwas, the Nixias, and what we know of the progenitors' language, without any response, Captain.
It's entirely possible that their means of communication is being somehow hampered by the... It's possible that our attempts to hear their response is somehow hampered by the radiation. What were you saying, Locke, about the radiation being a magnifying glass?
Well, as long as we don't try to stand their fusion reactors, it's it's working in conjunction with our sensors to give some fairly good readings.
Is it possible that this radiation is somehow related to the communication nebulous?
There does seem to be some related energy patterns, but it could be of the equivalent of a long range sensor satellite, a space telescope, if you were. But I don't see any way of relaying that information.
We'll find out soon.
Can we use this magnifying effect to determine what the inside of their ship is like, or how many possible life forms there are?
Not at this distance.
I'd actually like to spend a momentum to see if I can discover if the radiation seems to be naturally occurring to the system, or kind of like much more clustered around the ship.
Okay. In that case, I can actually give you 2 points of information. The first is again that the source of the radiation is purely from the fission-powered impulse drive. Because it is unshielded, it is basically nuking the entire ship with radiation. And the radiation is so powerful that while your average humanoid could maybe survive some brief exposure to the interior of the ship, most species, if not all, aboard the Ophion would succumb to the radiation within 30 minutes to an hour.
Did I detect any life readings on the ship?
Yes. You get a count somewhere above the 50,000 mark. Wow. It is a big ship.
I wonder. Where are my notes? Could it be that that nomadic species?
The yurt?
The yurt, because yes, I wonder if they're the yurt captain, because this does seem to be a very well-populated ship. It seems unlikely this would be a mining vessel or even just a military vessel with that much people.
It's entirely possible. We won't know until we are actually able to establish a dialogue.
I believe the Voyager logs encountered a similar species in the Voth with their city ships.
I'd read something about the Voth. They were something about a religious conformance with very powerful technology.
If we include the term the Ute yet in our hails, they might be more willing to respond.
Attempting that now.
Yeah, you get nothing.
Well, Captain, I believe we've tried all that we can, and as humans say, the ball is in their court now.
At least until we can get it. At least until we drop out of warp.
All right. You also have to excuse me. It appears I need to oil my chair. But in any case, my question is, what are you guys going to do for the remaining 15 to 30 minutes before you would drop out of warp?
Let's see. I'd send a copy of all our sensor logs down to Mr. Maddock, although he and his AI friend have probably already gotten them anyways. I'll ask, is Hailong on the bridge, or is she down in stellar cartography?
I'd say she's probably on the bridge, probably at the station next to Locke.
Miss Hailong, you and stellar cartography have been looking at this neighborhood for the last few weeks. What have you determined?
Can you be more specific, sir? I could give you quite literally a 2-hour dissertation on the subject.
Is there any sign of other civilized beings, or an engine of this power and radiation must emit a trail? Is there any hint that there was a radiation trail, or possibly more than one radiation trail in this area?
Not that I'm aware of, sir. this is the first time our sensors have really pinpointed this source of radiation before. Of course, I can immediately have the computer run back any previous scans we had, but my best guess is this is very much a first contact scenario.
We seem to be doing that a lot, don't we?
I'm going to be over here at Shatsu Station going over our new defense procedures with her because we don't want to repeat of last time.
Okay.
Yes, no one's given me the answer yet as to why our security holograms weren't active, but I'm going to ensure that I'll follow up with Pinek and Shatsu that they will actually help in case of an invasion. Other than that, I'm more than happy to wander into my ready room, grab myself a fresh pot of tea, and prepare for the encounter that is to come.
Okay. Anyone else have any quick bits of RP? Okay. In that case, I will switch you guys over to this map preemptively. Of course, due to the size of the ship, I still don't think it's quite to scale, but you should get the idea. It's a really, really big ship. So much so that I had to make a little token that we could actually use for range. But in any case, as you drop out of warp, you are actually within medium range. And Locke, your sensors are going to...
I see the 2 scale.
Yeah. Locke, you're going to get a few bits of information from your sensors for free. The first being that the ship's warp engines seem to have been added almost like an afterthought based on what you can make of the deck plan. And kind of how you determine that is that the warp engines are these kind of strange crystalline structures that sit just ahead of the fission reactors. And just like the fission reactors, they don't have any special shielding to prevent damage or interference. The other thing, which you're able to, I guess you would say, guesstimate, is that while the fission-powered impulse drive can get them going at great speed, especially for their size, you're not really seeing any... Like, it's hard for them to maneuver. It's like they are very much a straightforward kind of vessel. It takes them a while to turn.
What's the... I won't ask any more questions just yet until I... Okay, Shatsu, prepare if they don't seem to have a lot of maneuvering. So the Ophion's maneuverability might be our best advantage. But then they still have a whole lot of torpedoes.
Yes. Once we get out of warp, please, that will be your primary task, is to figure out the locations and firing arcs of all their weapons.
You are at a warp at the moment.
Oh, we are. Oh, we have dropped out. Whoops, my bad. All right. What is their current status in relation to ours?
Shatsu speaks up and says, they seem to be at station keeping for the moment, sir, and I don't know, it's hard to tell whether or not they're powering up their beam weapon or if it's just their natural state. It's really throwing us for a loop, that impulse drive of theirs.
Are you able to detect any type of active scan?
No, sir.
Retry hailing frequencies?
I can.
So this time you do get a response. And on the screen is a creature that lies somewhere between reptilian and insectoid. It has 8 limbs, 4 of which are currently holding it upright at about 2.5 meters tall, while the other 4 act as arms. It also possesses a prehensile tail that would seem to assist in balance. Their skin is almost stone-like, very similar to ancient earth lizards. What really sticks out, though, is the multitude of bionic and cybernetic modifications has. Now, before you worry, they are not Borg, but they are not dissimilar to that of the Borg. Um, by that I mean, instead of, say, nanoprobe takeover or things of that nature, it seems that most of these modifications have been either grafted or otherwise implanted in very gruesome fashion. For instance, this particular creature that you're seeing has something similar to like an old Earth chain gun as one of its upper limbs, as well as a featureless visor that covers most of its face.
I've sent a screenshot of this down to wherever Sfarja is with a question mark.
Svarja does reply that she's on her way.
Greetings. I am Captain Barton Skull of the United Federation of Planets on the USS Ophion.
So the creature opens its maw, and you see row upon row of incisors, and the creature gives an unholy sounding screech to the point where it would probably chill most of your bones. And the screech goes on for an unnatural amount of time before the comms are shut off. And it is at this point that Shatsu reports, "Sir, they are definitely powering that beam weapon."
I shake my head at this screeching stuff.
Get us around to the rear of the vessel.
All right. And that's where we are going to start combat. All right. So I am going to have to kind of nerf them a little bit from my stats, because I just remembered that they get a turn for literally every point of scale, and they are scale 10. So that's bad news bears for you.
I think we're going to have to use multi-vector assault mode for this.
Let's hold that off. We'll hit harder. We'll hit pretty hard without it.
Yeah. But it is your guys' turn first. So what would you like to do?
My first thought is to go for their maneuvering thrusters.
That would be my thought as well. They're not that maneuverable to begin with, so if we can hinder that even further.
Yeah,
Or-
if we can stop... Go ahead.
Captain, if we fly really close to the surface, it'll be harder for them to target us with torpedoes, since they won't be able to. If they hit us, it'll also damage their own ship. So
Agreed.
buzz them.
Is that one of the things that Helm can do, is evasive maneuvers that would do something like that?
Well, there's two different actions the helm can do. They can do evasive action, which makes it so that all attacks against the ship and all attacks made by the ship increase in difficulty by 1. Or there's attack pattern, which gives any attacks until Sona's next turn reduce in difficulty by 1. And if it's already at 1, then you get a bonus momentum. But both the attack pattern and evasive action would cost a point of power.
And we're already down. Are we down a point already because we used the chronoton sensors?
No, this would be a fresh scene, so you'd have full power.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm all for doing evasive action, at least until we can get to a better positioning.
Okay. In that case, I need Sona to roll a daring plus con, difficulty 1, and the ship will assist with structure plus con.
I can roll Sona.
Okay.
That was
I'll do the ship.
roll plus con.
Okay. All right, so no help from the ship, but Sona actually can roll today. So yeah, you guys get a momentum. And yeah, Sona does this time is able to kind of get a feel for how well this alien ship can maneuver, and begins evasive pattern Delta 9er. But up next is the alien creatures. So the aliens for their efforts, are indeed going to attempt to fire their main beam weapon at you. So it is difficulty 3 for them, but let's see what comes up. So good news, bad news. Good news, they did roll a complication. Bad news, with that crit on fire weapon, they did get the 3 they needed. I'm going to take threat for the complication. Actually, no, I can't because it's an enemy ship. Let's resolve damage on this, and then we'll see what I can come up with a complication. So,
Could we take momentum for their complication?
that's a good question.
I think the default is it bleeds off threat.
You know what? It's probably against rules as written, but fuck it. You guys can have 2 momentum for the complication. But yeah. So as this beam kind of fires at you guys, it sounds, well, there's obviously no sound in space, but Star Trek verse, we hear phasers and whatnot. If I had to qualify the sound, it is like this mixture between like a lion, a tiger, basically every single primal animal or predator that you can think of. And it is just this ungodly kind of roar. And unfortunately, it is going to hit you. So let's finally roll that damage. All right. So good news here. It doesn't have vicious. So that's the good news. Bad news. That is more than 5. So you will be suffering a breach. Even more bad news. It's high yield. So you're going to be suffering 2 breaches to whatever system I end up rolling. So
there's going to be extras somersaulting over exploding consoles tonight.
Exactly. So go ahead and take the 9 off of your shields. And let's see where this hits you. A 6. A 6 would be the engines. All right. What does a breach to the engines do? I'm pretty sure it's power, but let's double check.
It's the one place we didn't want to be at.
I'll let whoever else was adjusting the shields finish off, because I think we're going over the top of each other.
All right. Whenever the engine system suffers 1 or more breaches, it disrupts those functions temporarily. The ship loses 2 power immediately. So I think you're at -3 from your total. Furthermore, until the internal systems officer or someone in engineering performs the restore minor action, all tasks assisted by the ship's engines or that have a power requirement increase in both difficulty and complication range by 1.
All right, so the breaches were to the engines and
both to the breaches. So they suffered 2 breaches to the engine.
all right, that's penciled in.
All right.
Yeah, that took out half our shields.
Mm-hmm. And
Captain, I wouldn't recommend him being hit by that again. We cannot take another hit like that.
That's why we're trying to get it out of the way.
Mr. Locke, please keep your evaluations during this moment to the unobvious.
Right. So yeah, again, to kind of give it flavor, this roaring beam does impact one of your nacelles, and it temporarily disrupts it. But you still have 3 good ones. So we come back around to you guys' turn. What's the play here?
Shatsu, are we able to take out that? Are we able to damage that beam cannon?
I mean, if it was concentrated in one area, sir, maybe, but it runs the whole length of their ship. I don't think there's any way to disable it.
Very well. All right. Original plan: try to keep to its rear. Does their beam weapon wrap around their engines?
No, it is very much a forward-firing weapon only.
Good. Let's keep around the rear. In the meantime, so let's strafe some of their weapon emplacements. Try to create a gap in their firing arcs.
All right, so before we resolve that, I do need to say, because of evasive action, that's already a difficulty 1 increase. And then because of the breaches you just suffered, that's another difficulty increase. So firing phasers would be difficulty 4, and torpedoes would be difficulty 5.
Okay, then change of plans. Perhaps we should spend our turn on damage control.
Torpedoes don't have a power cost, so they
Murthrin
don't.
can deal
Oh,
with
yeah,
that.
that's right. So it would only, but still because of evasive action, torpedoes would also be a 4.
Let's see if Murthrin can't get those engines functional.
Yes, please.
So the good news is it's only a minor action to restore the engines, but you still have your main action. So what would you like to do for your main action?
Which action's the one to restore shields?
For shields, this would be a control plus engineering. Difficulty 0 because you're in main engineering, I'm assuming. And the ship assists with structure plus engineering. And this does cost 1 power. It's on page 224 if you're looking for reference.
I've just lost the macro. I'm going to spend a momentum to get a 3rd die.
Okay.
Oh, roll for the ship.
Ship power systems as an applicable focus?
I'm going to let it happen, yeah. Okay, so good news. You guys are capped on momentum. I believe you have 2 bonus momentum. So you initially get 2 shields back because of the success. And every point of momentum you spend, probably those 2 bonus momentum, it's another 2 for each.
Yeah, I'll spend those 2 bonus momentum on shield.
Okay, then you get a grand total of 6 shield back. Oh god, it's doing the bar flicker thing again. It's kind of cool. I wish that was an actual toggleable effect. Any event, though. So yeah, Murthrin, you quickly send a bit of a damage control team to fix the nacelles, and the nacelle kind of flickers for a moment, then returns to its full-on glow.
Yep, and just as it does, he sort of like shunts power through a pre-prepared junction and just boosts up the shield integrity.
All right, very good. All right, and that's going to be internal systems. All right, up next is the Vohiri Mauler, and for this one, the Mauler is going to attempt to engage in a attack pattern. So let me see. It does indeed. So the difficulty for its attacks is going to go down to 1. And this does have a power requirement, so I got to subtract that as well. -1. I forgot to subtract the power from the beam. All right, so the kilometer-sized ship does seem to take up a more aggressive stance as it attempts to maneuver such that it can get its main beam back. You know, you guys back in the main beam's firing arc. But yeah, for the moment, it is your turn again.
Captain, if we can disable their ability to maneuver, then we can stay on one of their sides and pick off their offensive capabilities without too much care.
Agreed. Let's see what we can do about knocking out their power.
Okay.
Miss Shatsu, target their power arrays and fire.
Okay. So let's break this down.
But by the way, did I actually repair any breaches?
No, you don't repair breaches, but you did get rid of the disadvantage
Okay,
that
cool.
was incurred by them. Um, but yeah, let's break it down. So, Skull, since you're ordering Shatsu, I would say this would count as the command task.
All right.
Um, so you're going to be assisting with presence plus command. Shatsu will, of course, be rolling weapons, or not weapons, control plus security, assisted by the ship's weapons plus security. The overall difficulty is a 3 because of evasive action. And I think that's everything. Yes. Um, Now, this is something I needed to check beforehand, but I'm pretty sure that you might need to spend like, if you wanted extra penetration. Actually, no, that's. Never mind. I'm thinking of something else. So yeah, let's resolve the rolls and then we'll go from there. So who's rolling for Shatsu and who's rolling for the ship?
Yeah, I'll roll for the ship.
Okay.
And I've already forgotten what the roll is.
That would be weapons plus security.
No one else is rolling for Shatsu. I will.
Okay. All right, so that's 2 successes already. Hey, you get the 3 you needed.
Nice.
So yeah, go ahead and roll your phaser damage. Now remember, you do get 2 free bonus momentum because they are phasers. So
Yep.
you, because of the versatile 2 quality, you do get 2 bonus momentum that you may spend on things like penetration, power, etc.
I'd like to spend it on 1 penetration, 1 power loss.
Okay,
Sound
so
good?
that would be 2 penetration and 1 point of power loss.
Sure.
All right. So, again, good news, bad news. Good news, you are indeed able to strike the ship and cause the immediate area around where your phaser impacts. The lights of the ship seem to flicker a little bit, but yeah, you don't even get through its resistance. Unless you want to like re-roll those zeros or maybe try to get 2s with those effects.
You don't have the advisor trait, do you?
I don't believe I do. I probably should get that at some point. No, I don't.
I meant talent, not trait. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
talent? No, I don't have that.
So do we want to re-roll?
I mean, we have momentum.
Yeah, and really disabling their ability to move is paramount to winning this fight.
Yeah. All right. Spend the momentum to reroll.
Okay.
2. We get lucky.
All right, so you are in fact able to inflict a point of damage. Hey, something.
Oh, it's a lot of resistance.
Well, it's a scale 10 ship. Even though they're using polarized hull plating, it's big. It's very big. But yeah. So the good news again is at this point you guys are kind of. Let me move the token. You guys are to the side of the vessel at this point. Bad news as we come around to its turn again. It is going to use its command action to fire a bunch of rad warheads at you. So let's see how that resolves.
Radical, man.
Well, if with zeros across the board, what happens is kind of as these ports open up on the side of the vessel and begin firing a barrage of warheads at you, you would, again, quote unquote, hear an unrelenting howl as these warheads just kind of soar past the Ophion. It's kind of like a flak turret, if I had to qualify it. It's going for area denial rather than actually hitting you. But yeah, it does not hit you, which is the good news. And we roll back around to your guys' turn.
Seeing as I think the captain already sent the previous scans to Matic
Mm-hmm.
and Sienna,
Mm-hmm.
he's going to access the sensors from his lab, and he's going to go up to the bridge. He'll access the sensors and do a sensor operation and scan for weakness.
Okay. Yeah, you can certainly do that. That would be a control plus science, difficulty 1 on your part. Actually, no, difficulty 0 because of the sensors benefit from the ship. Assisted by the ship's sensors plus security.
Alien technology.
Yeah, why not?
So reason science, right?
Mm-hmm. No, control science.
Control science.
Mm-hmm. Difficulty 0.
Ship aids.
All right.
Oh, we already have 5 momentum. I don't need to spend any.
Yeah.
There's 2.
So you would have 2 floating momentum. Don't think you can spend it on anything though. But the good news is the next attack made against. Oh, go ahead.
I guess I could spend one of them on a question.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be more viable to take out their fission reactor or their warp reactor?
I would say the fission reactor would be your best bet. But no, you guys are at 6 momentum because that was part of the bonus momentum that he spent for the question.
Oh, that was bonus. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So keep in mind that your next attack on the Mauler is going to be a piercing 2 quality per effect rolled. So you want to see effects. Effects are good. Also, if you buy any D20 for the roll, it's +1 damage for each D20 purchased. So that could very much come into play. Up next, I forgot to take off the green mark. Up next, we do have the alien vessel once again. And this time, what they're going to do is they're actually going to do something very similar. They too are going to use their sensors, such as they are, to try and get a good gauge on where to hit you. So let's see what comes up.
Probably anywhere with that beam.
Yeah. Yeah. They knock it out of the park. That's a lot of threat for me. 4 threat, very nice. So
I want to get hit.
Shatsu kind of reports, sirs, they are definitely locking onto our nacelles again.
Has Svarja come to the bridge yet?
Yes. At this point, Svarja does end up on the bridge, and when she steps out and kind of looks at the view screen and says, sorry, it took me a while. I don't know how much useful this information would be, but if I were a betting woman, I'd say that these are descendants of or are the Vohiri. And I will, of course, spell that in chat. Kind of an ancient sort of species that kind of stagnated in technology and has been like this for, again, if this is them, they've been like this for quite a while.
Very well.
Yeah, it is your turn again.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think we can take these guys in a fight.
Well, remember,
It's definitely not going.
Oh, go ahead.
It's definitely not going to be a fight we win by wearing them out, Captain. We're going to have to find their key points to knock them out.
If we can
Agreed.
take out the warp engines, we have an opportunity to run at least.
Agreed. Keep going after their engines. Miss Shatsu, torpedo spread, please.
Okay. So again, let's break it down.
Just a
Because
tactical action, I guess.
this would be your tactical. Um, Again, because of evasive action, the difficulty does increase to 4.
Fine. Okay.
What else? It doesn't have a power requirement, so you're fine there. If you're firing a salvo, that means I get 3 attack or 3 threat. And then remember, you want to see effects on this because you did just scan for weakness.
Yeah.
But let's see if you actually hit with your salvo. I would certainly hope so, since it's a big ship. But maybe she's taking a page from Worf's book and just whiffs completely. So Shatsu is going to
You
roll.
have dishonored my father with your words.
Oh, that was a good image. Anyway, so Shatsu is rolling control plus security. I would recommend maybe spending some momentum for her.
Yeah. Good idea.
And then the ship will assist with weapons plus security.
Who's rolling for Shatsu? Am I very good?
Do we want to dump some momentum into her roll?
Probably.
Absolutely. How much you want to spend? We've got a lot.
I vote for 3 to get 2 extra dice.
I'm game.
Make it so.
Making it so.
So it has been made.
Who's rolling Shatsu?
Oh, guess I'm still doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought since you said making it so, I assumed you were making it so.
No, I'm just.
Well, that would have been sensible.
Oh my. Well, we make it.
Yeah, so the good news, bad news here. Good news, you do hit. Bad news, I'm taking the threat. Well, maybe that's good news. All right, so
there's
now
so much
let's.
threat already.
Oh, you are
I
racking up quite
really
a
mean
bit.
it.
Yeah, so now let's resolve the damage here. So go ahead and roll the challenge die, and then we will add up the bonus damage and the piercing.
Alright, so that's
What's
6
the
damage?
which bonus is it for the full yield again?
Firing a salvo adds +1 to the damage roll. Because you did scan for weakness and you bought 2 die, that's another 2 bonus damage. And the key thing is this is just damage. This isn't another challenge die.
Oh, that's a nice
Ooh.
amount of effect.
Sorry, I
That-
ignored the last 2 actually. It's
Okay.
added. So it should only be 8.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All right. So you did 8 damage. Again, let's walk through this. So it's 8 plus 3, so 11.
And we ignore 12 resistance.
You ignore 12 resistance, which is all of it.
Good.
So you do a whopping total of 11 damage to them, which is quite significant, actually, because of torpedoes have the high yield quality. So that's already 2 breaches. So it is your attack. Go ahead and roll 1d20, and we'll see where you hit. A 19. Well, would you look at that? That is weapons. Weapon breach.
Weren't we targeting the engines though, or?
You know what? Did you want to target the engines? I'll give it to you free. It would have been an increased difficulty, but we've already made the roll. So, did you want engines or weapons?
I think the captain was specifying.
Yeah.
So I was kind of
I like shooting weapons in this instance.
weapons. Okay.
Okay.
never
So let's see. Until the tactical officer performs the restore minor action, the ship cannot make any attacks, nor can attempt to make any other tasks which would involve the ship's weapon systems. So again, narratively, what happens is the Ophion kind of goes on a strafing run, almost like a certain trench run in a galaxy far, far away, and fires off salvo after salvo of photon torpedoes, and Thanks to Maddox's sensor scan and some quick thinking on Shatsu's part, even due to the size of the ship, you do leave rather large, especially for this ship's size, pockmarks in its hull. And you are now, I'll say, behind the ship. So you're right about there.
Question: they don't have shields, correct?
Yes. So the way their shielding works is the same as the polarized hull plating in the command book. So you only need to do 4 damage to breach instead of 5.
But that also means transporters are effective against them, right?
That is correct, yes.
Tin might turn to the captain and be, "Command, Captain. If I can get a lock on a vital piece of their engineering, I could beam that onto their ship and thereby disable their engine."
Sorry, you're suggesting we perform remote surgery on their equipment.
Yes, I remember reading that former Federation President Captain Archer did it once, beaming out parts of viable components.
I like the way you think.
Are we doing scalpel or chainsaw?
No, chainsaws do cause the most damage.
So one of their some engineering component I can beam away that's essential for.
Yeah, like maybe like a key power conduit between the reactor and the rest.
Like a relay or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If we
Well-
could beam away their reactor's coolant supply.
I'm assuming we want to disable them, not blow them up.
I mean, there are 50,000 of them, but then again, their captain is a gigantic lizard thing with rows of teeth and a chain gun for an arm. So, yeah.
So actually, Shatsu can retain the initiative, right?
Yeah, I completely forgot about her. Yes, she can indeed retain the initiative.
So we could have Tin do that like right now, maybe,
Sure.
Sure.
So
so you don't get killed next turn.
how do I want to resolve this?
Transporters are control plus engineering.
Right. I'm just thinking from like a sensor standpoint because they do use the ship sensors.
So we might have to split it up into 2 turns, where one scan the ship, and then the next turn they beam it out.
Because I would have known that the captain was firing at the engines, could my scan for weakness earlier have been part of the scan roll for this?
Can we spend a momentum to have that happen?
Let's do that. Yeah, spend a momentum, and that's what happens.
Alrighty.
And yeah, Matic, you're as part of your scan, you're gonna know that the fission reactors are just so big that transporting like a key component out of them is going to take a lot of power. And especially because of the radiation surrounding the fission reactor, it might be at an increased difficulty or complication range.
What about like if I transported like the bolts that are holding it against the wall? Like if I just took out all the bracing?
That's a lot of precision for this kind of engagement.
Right, yeah, I would say that would be an even bigger increased difficulty. But I will remind you of last session. You did use the transporters to beam a warhead directly to a Jem'Hadar's bridge. Could do something similar here.
Shatsu, get Quake and Bush to prepare the tricobalt device.
Shatsu says, "Are you sure, sir?"
Get it on the cargo transporter.
Understood, sir. And we'll say that takes place. It'll take place during the same thing because we retained initiative. So after probably a few minutes, she says, "Tricobalt device ready, sir."
Fantastic. When it's my turn again, I'll spend my action to attempt to negotiate a cease of hostilities.
Okay. So we come back around
What
to.
do you mean by your turn, Captain?
I'm metagaming this combat, Mr. Murthrin. Don't interrupt me.
Oh, yes, of course. Sorry, sir.
Metagaming pigeon. Oh, best thing that come out of this campaign of Critical Role, metagaming pigeon. Anyway,
Use Mage Hand to remove the reactor.
so what the Vohiri are gonna do is they are going to. I forgot to take away their orange mark. They are going to attempt a helm action to more or less get you back within the firing arc of their main beam weapon. So this will require a bit of power, which does matter in this instance. And I'm going to treat this as a evasive action, even though it is not giving the benefits of evasive action. So let's see what happens. Yes, I will say, based on that roll, that they are able to turn their ship slightly. So they are... How do I want to do this? They are maybe something like this. So they're angling around. Next turn, they might get there. But that is their turn. We come back around to you guys.
I'd like to spend my action to try to communicate with them. I think that's a quick action, if I recall.
Let's double check.
I think hailing frequencies is a quick action.
No. Interact, change position, prepare, raise lower shields, restore. They're all minors.
My
Yeah.
bad.
Hailing frequency open is an actual task.
Okay,
Yep.
then I'll make it my task. I'll make it the ship's task.
Okay. In that case, this is a control plus engineering, assisted by the ship's communications plus engineering. The difficulty is 0, so free momentum for you, really.
Sending another hail, Captain.
All right. Sorry, what are we rolling for that?
Is that sensors plus engineering or con plus engineering?
Com plus engineering, so unfortunately no sensor bonus here. And whoever's doing the hailing frequencies open is control plus engineering.
Should Matic do it because he probably has the highest control engineering on the bridge
Sure.
right now?
I'll make room for him at my station.
All right, so one from the Ophion.
Momentum for an extra dice, just to try to get extra momentum.
Sounds good.
Sure.
Power systems?
No.
Oh well.
Hey, would you look at that?
Yeah,
So you get
alright,
4
nice.
momentum.
Works for me.
All right, so what are you saying there, Captain?
All right, just drawing the momentum. Then, attention, Vohiri vessel. We are in possession of a large warhead that we are prepared to use to destroy your vessel, unless you cease fire immediately.
All right, so
If you do not disengage and drop your weapons, your ship will be destroyed, and all 50,000 crew will be lost. I do not want to do this, but I will take whatever is necessary to protect my ship and my crew.
So the abomination comes back on screen, and it begins shrieking again. But this time, because Svarja is here, she does kind of rush over to Pinex's console, taps on her suit's kind of arm so that the Fryqua symbols pop up again. And with her quick thinking and modification, it will translate. The Universal Translator will be able to codify what this Vohiri is saying. And what the Vohiri says is, well, Cam, you read the Q Continuum series of novels, yeah?
I did, yes.
So you remember how the Calamarain kind of did an I, R, we
Yep.
kind of thing? It's
Yep.
very similar here that they use multiple phonetics for their words. But obviously, I'm not going to be able to do that as I speak unless you want me to take all day. So the Vohiri says, "You have violated our space. This is our planet. If it comes down to it, we will gladly sacrifice our lives for the glory of the Vohiri Empire."
Apol, you have my sincere apologies. We were unaware that this space was claimed. If you could please provide us the borders to your empire, we will happily leave.
Roll me a. How about a presence plus command?
All right. Diplomacy
Yeah.
as a feature? Cool. I'm going to spend a point of momentum here.
Okay.
Cool.
Hey, would you look at that? You'll get 2 momentum back. Sorry, I should have told you it was a difficulty 2, but hey. How do I flavor this? As you communicate this and ask for the borders, you're going to notice something as they start to reply. They seem to use one of their arms to gesture at someone off screen. And moments later, a barrage of information begins to assault your ship. And this is actually going to be a... Where is it? Where is it? It's here somewhere. There it is. Signals jamming. So the communication officer transmits to interfere with what's... Power requirement of 1, control plus engineering, assisted by comms plus security. Alright, I'm just going to roll a generic thing here and see what happens. Okay, so here's what happens. As this barrage assaults the Ophion, it immediately overloads the sensors of the ship. And it's basically e-warfare. They are attempting to jam every single sensor and communication capability that you have at the moment.
It's gonna make it hard to beam on that warhead.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've already made it clear that we're not welcome in their space. Very well. I'm just going to glance over my shoulder at Lieutenant Commander Panek and just go, it seems that we're not welcome here anymore, XO. Miss Sona, get us out of here, back to space that's a little friendlier. Maximum warp.
Retreat would seem to be the prudent course of action, Captain.
Agreed.
All right. Let me just double check, because this is in combat warp. Let's see, leaving the battlefield, page 219. When a ship goes to work, whenever characters operating the helm must spend 1 or more power and attempt a control plus con with a difficulty of 0, assisted by the engines plus con. If the power spent determines how quickly the ship is moving. If this task is successful, the ship immediately leaves the area, which will normally end the scene, though the enemy may choose to pursue. Okay. So we're not going to roll because that's a difficulty 0 and you're already capped on momentum. But the question is, how much power do you spend to go to warp?
All of it?
I'm all for
not all of it, but
I'm all for. Sorry, how much power do we have left?
we're at 11 of 15 by my count.
I'm all for spending about 5 of that.
Or we could, I'd say we spend like 8, get the hell out of here real quick, then we could just drop and restore.
True.
Yeah,
Because we don't
I'd
know if
like
they're
to-
going to give chase.
And our nacelles are already a bit bruised.
Mm-hmm.
I thought 5. You said 8. Let's compromise and go 7, just in case they decide to pursue. Then we have a couple extra power to do stuff with.
Warp 7 should be pushing beyond their capabilities, hopefully. They have pretty primitive warp engines.
All right, down
Yep.
to 4 power.
All right.
Out we go.
So the Ophion does almost like a 180 in space, and the nacelles glow for a second, and then launch you guys into warp. And yeah, you guys are out of combat. The Vohiri are not going to pursue. So I'll put you back on this map.
Bridge to Murthrin.
Murthrin here.
Damage
Dispatching
report, please.
Upper port nacelle took a major hit. I'm sending damage control teams over now to assess the damage.
Can we maintain Warp 7 for a protracted period of time?
I would advise against it, Captain. That was like even I don't think even the Jem'Hadar have phase polarons that powerful. Honestly, we're lucky it didn't slice the nacelle off.
Any sign of pursuit, Mr. Tin?
Scanning. Are they following?
Nope, they are not following.
They seem to be holding position, Captain. Also, we do have a armed tricobalt device in our cargo bay that we might want to deactivate.
Agreed. Miss Shatsu, please see to that.
On it, sir.
Sona, take us to the nearby star system designated KVR3 and drop us out of warp once we're near the system.
Understood, sir.
If you don't need me, Captain, I'm gonna head down to engineering and help out there.
Absolutely. Actually, before you do that, Mr. Maddock, my ready room?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'm gonna raise my eyebrow at the captain.
I'm just going to go and say, I have a thought.
Where is
Finneck and I will exchange glances, and I hope he gets the sense that he needs to delete the message I sent him earlier.
I've already deleted it.
All right. So this is a scene change, so do -1 momentum.
Mm-hmm. Just nothing major, Mr. Maddock. I would just like to have you and once all of the repairs are complete, if you and Sienna could just run through every piece of jamming information that they sent us, perhaps we're able to sort out something useful in all that mess.
Yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't be able to. I'm sure probably about 95% of it will just be white noise. It may just be a repetition of Planet 3 did this many rotations in this much time, or there were this many storms on Planet 2. That's probably what most of it's going to be, but I'm sure they probably slipped up and gave us a couple interesting pieces of information.
Agreed. That's why I'm hoping that Sienna will be of some assistance in this. I just wanted to ask you privately, just because rogue artificial intelligence, the crew isn't quite used to it yet.
I mean, she isn't rogue yet.
Apologies. Yet? I'd
There's
like to.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's
I'd
a-
like to
there's
take
a-
steps.
I understand, Captain.
I apologize. I should have said the phrase independent artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Which, I mean, technically Sona is... Well, no, I guess she wouldn't be independent, would she?
Well, she has sworn an oath to Starfleet and wears the uniform, and to the best of my knowledge, her artificial intelligence is constrained to her physical form, whereas Sienna is a little more... has the potential to be more free range among the vessel.
Yeah, that's some of the stuff Captain Tahan was worried about, but we didn't have any issues back on the Arcadia.
Yeah. And I, for one, hope that the issues don't crop up at all. But, a measure of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Caution?
Yes, caution prevents regrets.
Aye, sir.
Cool. To your duties, Lieutenant.
As Matic leaves, I'd like to enter with Farja
Actually, Svarja was going to enter by herself, so you saved me some time. Both Matic, as you walk out, both Svarja and Panek are kind of waiting outside, and they both step on in.
Lieutenant Commander, Svarja,
Captain.
I was just about to ask your opinion on this. I understand it is about 100,000 years out of date, but anything you could tell us about these Vohiri would be greatly appreciated.
Of course, sir. She once again kind of holds up her arm so that the hollow display will begin projecting an image. And you once again see a holographic image, kind of a green tinted display of what you just saw in terms of the abomination. And she says, back when we encountered them, they were very primitive spacefaring species. They did not possess warp functionality. They simply, as you probably gathered, they used their fission technology to basically use controlled explosions to propel them through space. It seems that over the years they really haven't made much progress, which is odd, but I'm not a scientist. I only have but so much insight. But what I can tell you is that the beam of theirs was something new.
While their technology seems to have stagnated, it's as evident not to be dismissed lightly. What can you tell us of their borders when you knew them?
Well, that's something I was going to actually bring up during the moment, but I didn't want to interrupt. As far as I know, they were a nomadic species. I believe the human expression is hunter-gatherer. They don't really have a border, as far as I'm aware. But again, it has been 100,000 plus years. Something could have changed.
It would be odd for a nomadic culture to start claiming territory.
Not necessarily. If all the on Trill, all the hunter-gatherer tribes eventually stopped being hunter-gatherers once they began developing agriculture. Assuming the Vihiri were a probably predatory species. If they found a hunting ground that they liked, it's entirely possible they would have set up home.
Which I believe us to our next point, Captain. It is no doubt a coincidence that we have found them right where we expect to find the progenitor generator device. This could be the proverbial plane that has caused them to settle down.
It's entirely possible. And as much as I'd like to go back in there, see what can be found, I'd rather not have to face one of those things without an entire armada at our back.
It's my thought, Captain, that we will eventually have to face them again, at least to establish some form of communication and dialogue with them.
Quite possibly. Until we discover, I'm just going to shrug a bit. On the other hand, the Takan structure has been left dormant for 10,000, or has apparently been untampered with for 10,000 years. Who's to say that it won't be perfectly fine within the next 4 decade, next century?
Pardon me, Captain, if I fail to give this supposition any credit. We are too lacking in information, and we have found a possible enemy sitting on the doorstep of such a device.
Agreed. We should figure out at least what this device is.
And the intent of the Vohiri.
If only we still had that Romulan cloaking shuttle. It's a shame we had to give it back. Very well.
Miss Varja, I would like to ask you to work with stellar cartography to begin designing a chart of what you knew of the patrol path of the Vohiri nomads, and see if we can overlay that with any additional information we come across.
Certainly, I will work with Senior Chief Hylong. Though a thought just occurred to me, sirs. Why not send in a probe or a shuttle to investigate things further?
That was going to be my next suggestion, actually, Savarja, but that is a fine idea. If you'll come with me back to the bridge.
Sure.
I can prepare a Class 9 probe, Captain.
Absolutely. Let's see if we can't be a little discreet with these, with our remote scanning.
All right. Back on the bridge.
All right. Mr. Locke,
All right, Captain. Yes.
once the repairs are complete, we're going to run silent back to the edge of that system. I'd like some probes prepared and launched into the system, into the general vicinity of the Class L planet where that Takan reading might be. Miss Shatsu, I'd like to gain a basic understanding of what we've learned from their sensor capabilities. If their sensors are as primitive as their engines are, then perhaps we might be able to sneak in a small exploration team.
That, I can certainly start working on that immediately, sir.
Very well.
Mr. Locke, I'd like you to begin working on hardening our sensors against their signal jamming.
I'll do what I can, sir. If we didn't have the communications open, it probably wouldn't be nearly as damaging.
Yeah, next time I'm not going to bother talking to them.
You had to try, Captain. It,
I
it,
know.
it worked with the Romulans.
It did. Those were good times.
Which reminds me, I need to update my will again.
Let's not be so morbid on the bridge, Mr. Locke. This is a Starfleet vessel. We're full of vim, vigor, and optimism.
Doesn't hurt to prepare against the worst.
No, it doesn't.
All right. So this actually feels like a good time to take our break. So yeah, be back in 5 to 10 minutes, guys.
All right.
Perfect.
See you then.
I still wanted to blow something up.
Alas, we
That's-
must take the moral high ground.
That's what the holodeck's for.
I mean, I'd like to blow up the holodeck too, but that's something different.
It is a HR nightmare.
Yeah.
Must be Mexican night for culture night.
All right, so I'm back. Before I unmute myself for everybody else, again, I do like to thank my viewers for watching. Kind of warms my heart to see how many views we get for such a small stream. Again, I think most of you listening to this have either already followed or subscribed on YouTube, but I'd appreciate it if you did it on Twitch as well. But if you do, you do, and if not, no big deal. But yeah, again, thank you for watching, and hopefully you're having a good time with it. And I'm going to go ahead and unmute myself for everybody else. And I'm back. All right, is anyone back yet? Sterling, in chat. No, I don't think it was a tri-cobalt. I think it was the Cobra Mite that you're thinking of. Yeah, it was the Cobra Mite device. The fictional sort of explosive. Tri-cobalt was something that I believe Voyager introduced. And Voyager was they used tri-cobalt on the caretaker array.
I think I remember Tricobalt earlier, but yeah, that's the Corvette mover goes back to the original series.
All right, well, Locke's back.
I'm
Is
back.
anyone okay? Penek's back. I'm assuming the Captain, Murthrin, and Matic are not yet.
Let's see. So yeah, Tricobalt devices were also in Deep Space Nine.
Ah,
For the Maquis were using them. So, no.
though I wonder, out of curiosity, whether or not Voyager, because Voyager and DS9 started around the same time, or at least they were one was running during the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, back. Yeah, I think Voyager started like 2 or 3 years after DS9 did.
Yeah, this would be after the Voyager. So Voyager possibly created it. It's generic explosive 5.
Yeah, because I remember in the original series, they definitely didn't have tricobalt warheads. They had just antimatter bombs.
Yeah, well,
Which
also the original series was all over the place. Like some episodes they had torpedoes and some they didn't. So
The writer's guidelines for that were kind of loose, I think.
yeah.
Well, I mean, theoretically, we've been using the same type of torpedo warhead for like 150 years. So, I mean, it makes reasonable sense that they'd have, once you find antimatter warheads, we'd kind of say the same for like the original series and Next Generation.
I mean, spark plugs got invented in what, like 1918 or something like that.
Give or take.
Yep, and yeah, haven't really updated the design since.
All right, I think everyone's back now, so let me get rid of the big BRB on screen. All right. Excuse me. So I think first we do need to do a little bit of repair damage control type things, just to see how long you guys have before you would start to head back towards the system. I normally was going to do an extended task here, but I think pretty much between Murthrin and Matic, you guys are going to knock it out of the park anyway. So in an attempt to give you guys maybe another capped momentum, I'd like Matic, you to assist Murthrin, or vice versa. We're going to call this a control plus engineering. The difficulty here will be a 2. And this will just kind of represent, again, how long it'll take you to effect repairs.
Alrighty.
Power systems, warp field dynamics, quantum mechanics.
I'll give you power systems. Alright, you guys are capped to momentum. And you succeeded so well that I'll say the damage was mostly superficial. It was simply due to the intensity of the beam that the nacelle was knocked offline. Obviously, neither of you would recommend getting hit there again, but things seem to be in order.
Those breaches will need downtime between sessions to deal with, but as long as nothing bumps the nacelle too hard, it shouldn't fall apart.
Exactly. So for narrative purposes, I think you remove 1 breach. I don't know. I'll double check what you guys are RPing. It's somewhere in command. I know that much. Yeah. But yeah, I'll say since you succeeded so well, the repairs will take maybe 3 hours. So That's 3 hours for anyone who has bits of RP they want to get out of the way.
Were we able to determine if their sensors would detect our probe?
Um, I'm going to say you don't know unless you want to spend a momentum to either say that you did or ask the question.
Actually, that's something Locke would be doing. Would be trying to find a way to get past their sensors, or like hide up a probe and/or ship.
Okay. Yeah, spend a momentum and I'll let it happen.
Sure.
All right.
Mm.
So let's see. Best you can tell, their sensors, while they are a large ship, they do seem to have trouble locking onto smaller things. Like, for example, when they locked onto you with their scan for weakness, they kind of took a broad stance in targeting your nacelle area rather than, say, a specific nacelle themselves. Your best guess, and again, this is a guess, keyword here, is that you might be able to sneak a Type 9 shuttle or a Type 11 shuttle into the system without them noticing. And unless you basically put a some sort of beacon on a probe, they probably won't notice the probe either.
All right, so wouldn't be able to sneak a Danube class in, but smaller shuttle should have a decent chance.
Smaller is better. It seems to be kind of a based pulse type scanning system. If we coat the hull in a slightly matte, non-reflective material, it should absorb the pulses a bit more and give us a bit more advantage at sneaking past. And as long as the probe isn't broadcasting on any major non-subspace frequencies, we should be able to. It should go unnoticed. I still wouldn't want to pilot the ship.
So you're suggesting we paint the probe black?
Well, the color is irrelevant as long as it's kind of more of an energy-absorbing matte color. Not anything reflective might bounce the signal back a bit more and cause it to ping a bit more.
Sorry, I'm attempting to make cynical, sarcastic comments in order to lighten the mood of our ship after it got its tail whooped.
It's
But whichever color you choose will be sufficient, Mr. Locke.
okay. Sorry, sir. I'm at this point. I have the sense of humor of Sona or even Tin. I am all one giant tense muscle.
You are
Tin.
attempting to use cynicism to bolster the morale?
What can I say? Literally, what can I say? I just shrug.
Tin actually does speak up and he says, I object. I have a sense of humor.
So,
Of course you do. That's what you're programmed to say, Tin. Chief. Sir.
I'll have you know I won the talent contest in humor back on Endoria.
The pause is completely role-playing, by the way.
Awkward silence.
Yup.
even Panek is dubious about this.
So Tin says, fine, I will give you a taste. A Romulan, a Klingon, and a Pack-Led walk into a bar.
Chief, how's Mr. Murthrin? How's that damage coming along?
Just about finished, Captain. I wouldn't recommend knocking the ship against anything anytime soon, but it'll hold up until we get back to Daedalus for repair.
Very well. Thank you for your time.
And Tin finishes his joke almost like he's did it the entire thing. And he says, and the Romulan says, that's not a warp coil, that's my wife.
Ching.
I'll just smile diplomatically.
Oh, poor Tin. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, anything else of note going on during this time period?
Just figuring out
Um,
who's going on the shuttle, I suppose.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question.
following repairs being finished, Sienna and I running through all the sensor data or
Mm-hmm.
the info dump.
Since you have Sienna helping you, and you're already maxed on momentum, mostly, I'll say that Sienna is able to determine something, and she'll say, best I can tell, uh, their white noise followed an interesting random generated mechanic, but I suppose that's not really important. Doesn't seem to be any useful information in here. It seems to be, as I said, mostly random noise.
Well, you were just saying that it followed a generation mechanic of some sort. Is there a way that we could possibly adjust our sensors or our signals? I'm not sure how. The communications array?
I mean, if there's a pattern, you can cancel it out.
Yeah. Like if it's all random information, but it's done in 549 burst, is there a way we could figure out a way to counteract that?
Could be done, yes. Please direct your attention to the console over here. And you see on the console that Sienna has brought up a kind of the formula that I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but basically it is the formula that generates the random mechanic or the random noise. Um, it fits. I'm trying to remember what species. Um, I think it was the Breen actually. It is a Breen mechanic for reading the kind of the fluctuations in subspace, and yeah, that's kind of how they generate the random numbers. Now, reverse engineering that would involve some sort of a task. I would say probably a 3 or 4 difficulty task.
Um, Seeing that it is Breen like, I want to pull up the original sensor scan and the scan for weakness I did,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to run all three of them through a comparison of technology from species in the area to see if they're kind of hacklet-ish, I guess is the best way to put it.
I
Like,
gotcha.
are they taking? Okay.
Um, I would say this would either be a reason or an insight plus engineering. I will make the difficulty a 3.
Alien technology.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Momentum for an extra dice. Oh,
Yeah, even with Sienna helping you, yeah, you're not seeing any similarities other than the fact that it just seems to be sort of a coincidence that the Breen and the Vohiri kind of
would
share a similar randomness.
would the ship's computers help me in any way, or the sensors?
The computers would, yes.
Okay.
But I don't know if you have the reroll talent for that, do you?
I do. I have technical expertise.
Oh, well, there you go. Reroll one of the zeros and hope for a crit. That's another
No.
success, but yeah, same kind of answer. It seems to be coincidence that they're similar.
All right. And then reverse engineering it.
Reverse engineering it will be a difficulty 4 task. This time the ship will actually roll. Um, for you, it would be, or anyone you want to have assist you on this, players or NPCs will roll, we'll say a daring plus engineering, since this is kind of breaking new ground. And the ship will assist with, we'll say, computers and security. Or computers.
All right.
Yeah, computers and security seems to be about right.
I'm gonna send a message to. I'm gonna tap my comm badge. Lieutenant Commander Maddock to Captain Skull.
Go ahead.
So the information is all white noise. However, there is a pattern to it. I believe it's possible to reverse engineer the pattern, and so in future instances, we won't. They'll have a little bit of a harder time signal jamming us. Um, do you have any recommendations on someone who could possibly assist?
We are not at warp right now. I'll send down a Hylong to help you out.
All right.
So Hylong arrives in short order and says, "All right, Maddox, what are we blowing up today?"
We're just gonna reverse engineer this formula real quick.
Alrighty. All right. Who would like to roll for Hylong? And who would like to roll for the ship?
I can do Hylong.
I'll do the ship. What's the ship's roll? Sorry.
The ship's roll, I think, is going to be computers plus security, because my reasoning there is you're trying to determine how best to defeat their sensors. So that seems like a security rather than a science. And then
Reason plus
Hylong
science?
and Matic are doing daring plus engineering.
Daring.
And the difficulty is a 4, so you might want to spend some momentum.
Astrophysics or quantum mechanics? Oh, sensor modification. That would work.
Mm-hmm. Ooh,
Okay.
yeah.
Or not.
Nothing better than practical experience for my value. I'm just going to go in and spend my point of determination on this.
Okay, yeah, that'll get you 2 successes off the bat.
All right, and then I'll just roll the 2d20 because I'm assuming alien technology applies here as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There we
Hey,
go.
would you look at that? You get exactly
Nice.
what you needed. So yeah, it probably takes you the remaining amount of time to come up with a sort of a quote-unquote jamming signal or a masking signal for the shuttle, but you do in fact come up with one. It will of course require a bit of power draw from the shuttle's main engines to maintain, but for all intents and purposes, you think that using this signal, you could again kind of slip unnoticed into the system and possibly to the planet itself.
I'm gonna send it immediately to Shatsu, Pinnek, and the captain.
Okay. So all of you would get it.
Fantastic. Good work, Lieutenant Commander.
Just another day in paradise, sir.
All right. Make sure it's applied to the shuttle, and then let's assemble an away team. Oh, has the probe been launched?
Yeah, the probe has been launched at this point.
I'd like to head towards Counselor Jess's office with Shatsu in tow.
Okay. I actually don't have a map for her, so I guess we'll have to use theater of the mind.
As we're rounding the corner to her office, I'll hand a data pad back over to Lieutenant. I'll say, very good, Lieutenant. Continue working on tracking down that lockdown code for the security holograms and double check the command systems. The Jem'Hadar are known to be apt saboteurs. You're dismissed.
All right. So
And then I'll turn and walk into Counselor Jess's office.
Okay, yeah. Jessa is, kind of sitting where she usually is behind her desk, and she says, "Oh, Lieutenant Commander, this is a surprise. What can I do for you?"
I wish to know your prognosis of the crew after the boarding action. Going into combat on a ship has a certain mental strain, but being boarded and captured is a different beast altogether.
Well, obviously, we did have a few individuals with PTSD from the Dominion War that they had it under control, but it sort of flared back up. I, of course, am working with the those individuals to get it back under control. Other than that, I think most people that I've talked to, anyway, seem to be a little bit more apprehensive about how secure the ship might actually be. But I don't think you need to worry about panic or, shall we say, distrust in the ship's security.
Are there anyone you believe I should create modified duty schedules for?
I do have a few names, yes, and she kind of taps at a pad, then shows it to you. It's mostly people on beta and gamma shift. There is one name on alpha, but it's an ensign who works in astrophysics, so...
Thank you very much, Lieutenant. I will see to that their shifts are modified. Please come to me with any more information you have regarding this.
I will do just that.
Thank you, and I'll leave.
All right. Okay. So I think we finally come to the moment where we ask who's going on this away mission.
How many can the shuttle fit? It's comfortable.
Well, it depends on which shuttle you're taking.
The smallest.
That would be the Type 9, I believe.
The one that just happens to be able to fit all of us for whatever reason.
It's about 6 passengers.
Yeah, let me double check.
Type 9 claustrophobia.
Is that a Type 8 or a Type 9? Type 9 shuttle.
Yeah.
The crew complement, it says, is 1 plus 2 passengers.
Oh, even smaller.
Mm-hmm.
That might not be large enough.
Well, it's just that's the size we need in order to slip in under the radar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it
who are we
is-
going to need for this? What's our intention is to go scan this generator?
Yeah.
So we're going to need an engineer, and at least someone from the sciences.
And security person, probably.
The pilot.
Yeah,
So,
pilot.
so I'm hearing Murthrin and probably Locke. Is he the scientist guy?
Yeah, Locke's a scientist.
So Murthrin, Locke, and who's our pilot?
Sona, probably. So long as the Ophion's keeping it safe distance from the system, I think Sona's talents would be far better in the shuttle than the Ophion.
And as she's an artificial person, the fewer life signs that are there, the better.
True.
In the interest of keeping everyone in the session, I'll say you can probably squeeze another 2 people in there. Ain't gonna be comfortable, and you probably aren't gonna be able to take anything back if you find something on the planet. But you could fit everybody with a supporting character or themselves.
We'll just keep you in the pattern buffer of the shuttle's transporter till we arrive.
I have several concerns with this plan.
It worked for Scotty.
Did it though? Did it really?
Yeah. All right, so we have Murthrin and Locke handled. Who would like to run Sona?
I can do Sona.
Okay, then I believe that just leaves Panek and Matic. You coming as yourselves, or are you bringing a supporting character?
Seeing as I kind of created the formula, I probably need to be there to do real-time adjustments on it, so I think Matic will go himself.
Okay.
I'll probably go myself too.
Okay. Add that to the screen. All right. You all, the 5 of you, adjourn to the Type 9 shuttle. I don't think it's been named yet. I could be wrong, but you kind of get situated inside, and Sona takes you out of the shuttle bay and into the void of space. And with a quick warp jump, you are able to arrive in system. And I would like Sona to roll me a... how do I want to do this? How about a control plus con? Difficulty 2. And someone roll me a 1d20, and your target value is a 9. A 9 or lower.
I'll do the random d20.
Okay. Okay. So because of the scene change, you would have lost the momentum, but you gain it right back. So yeah, as Sona begins to pilot the shuttle towards the second planet, you all would realize, or pick up from the sensors anyway, that the Vohiri vessel has returned to the Class Y planet it was originally orbiting. It does not seem to have noticed you, or it is deliberately ignoring you. One of the two. And as you get closer and closer to the planet itself, that maintains to be the case. Again, either they're not noticing you or they just don't care. And as far as bringing the shuttle down into the Class L planet, Sona is going to look to Panek, since he is the ranking officer, and say, "Should we beam down, sir, or should I make a landing?"
I'm hesitant to let out any unnecessary energy signals this close to the Vohiri vessel. Attempt to bring us down manually.
Very well. Very well. Lieutenant Commander, taking us down. Sorry, are we able to... is there an energy... Where's the energy signature, or have we seen one from the planet yet?
I actually was just about to ask Locke or someone else to roll me a reason plus science.
Try to keep my sensor scan on the down low and not too obvious, and probe the planet.
Difficulty here will be a 2. All right,
Oops.
and the shuttle
I'm
is
under
assisting-
10, sorry.
What's your science?
Almost certainly higher than 10s.
I mean, I think you basically rolled under your scores still, so we'll keep Tin's roll. But someone also roll me a d20 under 8 for the shuttle.
Yeah, it would still have been a 3.
D20 and get under an 8, was it?
Yep.
Let me just clear out all the C's.
All right, so you get even another momentum, so you are capped once again. All right, so Locke, your sensors are determining that being a Class L planet, it is obviously marginally habitable. There's limited vegetation and no animal life as far as sensors are able to pick up. However, you are able to detect what seems to be a massive structure on one of the southern continents. This particular structure seems to be shrouded in a electrical field, and it makes both transporting inside and approaching on foot might be a little bit more difficult.
So transporting and approaching by foot are both difficult.
There's an increased difficulty involved, yes. It's not
So
impossible.
it's not going to be pleasant regardless. I'd still recommend we land close to it and walk, just because if you encounter difficulty on foot, you can run away. If you encounter difficulty while beaming, you're dead.
Agreed. Taking us in close to the field.
All right, and I can put you on this map now. So you see as you kind of as Sona brings you down closer and closer to the surface of the planet, you would indeed be able to see out of the windows this sort of structure that you see on the screen. It is very chic metal design, and you can see the crackling energy around what seems to be one of the pylons. You would also see, as you fly over, at a high enough distance that this is probably, you're picking this up on sensors or a zoomed in view screen, but you do see what appear to be 3 of the Vohiri sort of outside the structure, looking for a way to get in.
So it looks like they've recently discovered it, and this isn't a long-claimed planet.
Does the shuttle have weapons?
It does, yes. It has
I think it's got a
a
little
single
phaser.
phaser bank.
Are they
It could-
close enough together that a good flyby could probably take them all out?
Spend momentum, and yeah.
Before I spend the momentum, I'll offer the suggestion up to Panek that we just do a quick little phaser burst and wipe him out.
Stun setting, of course, Lieutenant Commander.
I
Do
don't
ship phasers
believe
even
the
have a stun
shuttle.
setting?
Yes,
yeah, I
they
don't
do.
believe. Oh, they do?
Oh
They
yeah.
do. It doesn't come up often, but they do.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, we see it in the original series most often because
I think
they
it's
stunned
once.
an entire city block before. So
Oh,
Yeah, they did do that.
It's not a situation that comes up often,
Yeah.
for obvious
And
reasons.
actually, I do remember they, in the first episode, they set a phaser beam on low power, so instead of a weapon, it's basically just an energy transfer to the half-starved space jellyfish thing.
Miss Sona, bring us on an approach vector and begin and fire at will before they can alert anyone else.
Acknowledged, Lieutenant Commander.
all right, who's going to be doing the firing
Oh,
out
sorry, I
of
forgot about that.
curiosity?
I guess Sona's piloting, so I guess she would be the one firing.
Okay.
I think can the pilot do the firing, or?
I believe that it's pilot and navigation, and then internal and weaponry. So whoever's doing ops. So probably Matic
Probably Mithrin then.
or Murthrin.
Or, yeah, one of us too. Merthrin, what's your security? Because this totally isn't meta talking right now.
It's low.
My Sona's
I
3.
guess I'll be doing ops because my security is a 4.
You win.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so this is going to be a control plus security on your part, Matic. And someone roll me a d20 under 10 for the shuttle.
Phaser-based weaponry.
It is indeed, yes.
Nope.
Hey,
Okay.
you get a momentum.
3.
I'm not going to have you guys roll damage here. We're just going to handle it narratively. So Sona brings in the shuttle on a quick strafing pass, and Matic, using the phaser bank, sets it to a wide area stun, and more or less drops all 3 of the aliens that you see. And they're on the ground unconscious.
All right, Lieutenant, bring us down close to the entrance. I don't want to have to run back to the shuttle if we need.
Acknowledged.
Do a quick scan to make sure that there aren't any more nearby.
Next suggestion.
I'll just give this to you free. There does appear to be a large shuttlecraft of some sort. I don't even know if you would call it a shuttlecraft. This would probably be like the size of the Defiant, so probably like a Scale 3 ship. And the only reason you're picking it up is because, like the bigger ship in orbit above the first planet, this one too is just putting off a ton of radiation.
Can you determine if they've detected us?
It is possible that they have detected the discharge of the shuttle's weapons. Assuming that there are life signs in the shuttle, sir.
Are there life signs on the shuttle, or is the radiation fucking it all up?
I would say the radiation is screwing it up, especially because you're on a Type 9 shuttle. They don't really have extensive sensors.
And how far away is it at the point?
I would say that it is landed about a half a kilometer away.
All right, so we will at least notice their approach if they start coming over.
Yeah.
I recommend that I stay with the shuttle, sir, and provide overwatch.
A logical suggestion, Miss Sona. Bring us down to the entrance and drop the away team. Then retreat at an appropriate distance. But keep an eye on the enemy ship.
Acknowledged, sir.
Maintain open comm frequency.
Absolutely. Once I reach optimal distance, I shall perform a communications test.
All right, the rest of you, standard away formation and kit. Prepare yourselves.
Are you sure one of us shouldn't stay behind to keep an eye on Sona to make sure if Manton maintain the op position?
I'm perfectly capable of handling both stations at once, Mr. Locke.
Well,
Okay.
Pinek, I have a suggestion.
Yes, Mister Medic.
I mean, I'm assuming we have Evo suits somewhere on this ship. Possibility that Sona and I could perform a breaching operation. Maybe we could get some of their computer system. Maybe we could learn more information about them.
What exactly are you suggesting, Mister Medic? Are you suggesting you board the enemy ship?
I mean, I don't see how it's a bad idea. It's probably not a good idea, but I don't think it's a bad idea.
If I may, sirs, that is an hostile action against a species that is only maintaining its territory. Such further antagonistic actions might be perceived as an act of warranted aggression, and could cause far more trouble than it would be worth.
Agreed. Let's keep our away mission on our primary objective, which is the facility for now.
Of course, we have already acted. We have already fired our weapons against them, which might also be perceived as an unwarranted antagonistic attack.
But to be fair, they shot at us first.
And they don't know it was us. They just know they fell unconscious.
I'm dropping the away team off now, sirs.
All right. You already addressed this, but I was going to say part of your sense ratings would indicate that Sona probably does not want to get near this electrical field. It would probably knock her out cold. But since she's staying with the shuttle, we don't have to worry about that. Just to make sure, the other four of you are going to try to get into the facility.
Yep.
Okay. So you're dropped off pretty close, and then Sona kind of flies away a little bit to kind of hide, and you start to look for an entrance, and simply because I don't want to spend too much time on this, we'll say you find one within about 15 minutes. And it's less of a doorway as it is a breaching charged hole in the wall that seems to open up into a larger room. And you don't see any Vohiri around, but you would seem to pick up on your tricorders that there is a power signature further into the facility.
The Vohiri that we knocked out outside, how long are they going to be out for?
Unless you want to run over and do a insight plus medicine on them, you have no idea.
All right, phasers out. Maximum stun setting.
All right.
All right, phases out.
Can Sona, are those bluffs in the background of this art depict existing in this map?
Yeah.
Sona would like to sort of position the shuttle between it and the large shuttle, the Vohiri shuttle.
Okay. Sure. Easy enough to do.
And run active sensors.
Combadge, Matic to Sona, do you read us?
This is Sona. I'm hearing you, Lieutenant Commander.
All right, we're about to enter the facility. If we go quiet, it's probably the electric field. I guess Pinek would know how much time there needs to be elapsed that you don't hear from us until you decide to return to the ship.
Acknowledged. I shall initiate hazardous away team communication protocols. Please be aware that the electrical field generated by this structure is hampering with transporter. I will only be able to beam 2 of you out at a time.
All right.
Okay, let's head into the beast.
All right. So as you proceed into the structure, you do immediately have to activate your phasers or your handheld flashlights. And as your beams of light kind of look around where you're sitting, these are ancient corridors, very similar to the first Takan structure that you encountered. Um, it is sort of a brass colored metal and very smooth walls, very smooth floor, high vaulted ceilings for whatever reason. And as you proceed through these sort of golden kind of corridors, you do see some rooms off to either side of the passageway. And when you look inside, you see that these rooms, to put it bluntly, have been ransacked. There are all sorts of metal refuse, bits and pieces, sort of strewn everywhere. Consoles are destroyed. Conduits seem to have been stripped or hanging bare into the wall, into the corridor in the rooms. Things of that nature. And it probably wouldn't take you too long to guess that the Vohiri were probably responsible for most of this.
This damage would seem congruent to the hodgepodge nature of their ship. They must come across technology and strip it for their own use.
Quite a lot of
That
damage
was
here. I'm surprised we actually haven't come across ruins that have been looted before.
maybe we have a hope that they only took physical technology, and maybe we could find a computer system somewhere that could tell us additional locations of ruins like this and see about getting to those before other species can.
Continue scanning for a control room while we head inside.
All right. I think instead of a reason plus science, I'm inclined to go for like an insight plus security, simply because you're trying to kind of get the lay of both a quote unquote battlefield or scene of conflict and kind of avoiding any notice from any Vohiri that may or may not be in the facility. So who would like to roll that?
An insight security?
Mm-hmm.
I've
Maybe
got
the.
I've got 12 insight for security.
Okay, you could take it.
All right. The difficulty here will be a 2.
Have we done a scan to see if there's any Vohiri life forms, or
You
is
have
it
not
because
yet.
of the?
I was going to.
Team dynamics focus.
Sure. All right. So I'll give you 2 answers to this. The first is yes, you are detecting a few Vohiri in the vicinity, but they seem to be far enough away in the facility that you need not worry about your, like talking reaching their ears, whatever their equivalent of ears is. The reason you're picking them up is because they seem to be carrying some sort of radiation generating weapon of some sort. Of course, without seeing one, you can't really tell what it is. The other bit of information you get is that there is a power signature that would seem to match with Dacon's standards. About 2 corridors down on the left, there seems to be an active signature.
I'd like to spend a momentum so I can get another question and use Studious to get a second one.
Okay, what's the first question?
Well, are there any Vohiri within that the con energy signature?
There are not. The closest one is perhaps 300 meters away.
And I'll throw the second question to the rest of you to see if there's anything else you want to know.
Thinking like, can you find a path there that will avoid it? Corridors and such.
I'll say that it is easy enough for you guys to navigate your way there without risking the Vohiri finding you out. Again, unless you start like firing phasers or blasting music at 11.
Toss out one momentum, Skull.
Sorry. I can do that.
All right.
I got just.
So, again, in the interest of time, we'll say that you finally arrive at a door that is closed. Like all the other doors at this point that you've seen have either been ripped off their hinges or kind of knocked inward. You do finally come to a door which seems to be active. At least the control pad on the exterior seems to be alight with information. And I think Takan are in the Universal Translator, so
It's
uh,
a partial. Yeah, I think the Federation has a partial lexicon.
yeah. So you would be able to determine that these are door controls that you're looking at.
Alrighty, let's see if I can't do something about these.
I take up a
Commander,
defense position.
once you stand farther back, they haven't entered this door for a reason. It could be trapped. I'd rather not have you disintegrated.
Take all precautions.
Alrighty, scan of the door.
Okay. We'll call this a reason plus engineering.
Maybe assisting with that?
My best roll.
Yes, Locke, if you want to assist, I'll say for you, Locke, it's a reason plus science. That way we're all appealing to your best skills.
And we've got a whole bunch of momentum, so I may as well spend one for an extra die.
Mm-hmm. Oh, difficulty 2.
Yeah, no, not really any applicable focuses.
Alright, so no help from Locke. Oh, hold on, I got a jet flying over. Alright.
Quick, re-roll it. He doesn't see the complication yet.
Alright, sorry about that.
Actually, on reflection, I probably would have. Oh no, it's determination to get the guaranteed crit.
Mm-hmm. And you got to do it before the roll. So here is the result and the complication. So the result is you will be able to get the door open. However, the complication is that the door controls begins beeping and then goes dark. So the door is open, but the door control does seem to have deactivated.
Okay, I think I might have tripped something in the system. The store is now stuck open.
I mean, hopefully we won't be here for long, and we can just grab the information we need and get out.
Can you detect if any internal security systems have been triggered?
Hard to tell, honestly.
Any
Well, this
change in power activity? Like, is anything like suddenly systems starting up or?
Yes, deeper into the facility, probably near the core, you would detect some increased power generation. However, the readings you're getting are fluctuating.
We shouldn't stay long. I don't think this power is stable, and whatever it is might attract attention.
Alright, let's get in, get what information we can, and book it.
All right. So inside, it's very similar to astrophysics or stellar cartography in that it is a sort of a platform extended over a void, and as you step inside, the room around you kind of comes to life with holograms. And at the end of this sort of walkway is a console, which is active.
Alright, Merthrin will go up and attempt to interface with it.
Okay. How much momentum you got at the moment? Let's say this is a. How about a control plus engineering? Difficulty
Alright,
2.
Yeah, I'll spend another momentum to get a bonus. Would computers as a focus count?
I'll allow it, sure. Alright, so you get some momentum back. So yeah, Merthrin, you're able to pull up some information, and you're going to notice a few things right off the bat. And of course, again, you can ask questions with momentum. The first thing you're going to be able to determine is that this facility seems to be one big antimatter-matter reactor. but the magnitude is staggering. By that I mean this could probably power a planet killer. That's how much energy is being generated. Um,
Yeah, so you see Murthrin sort of bring up the stats, sort of run the symbols through the translator and go, oh, okay, right. One moment, and I'm going to spend a momentum to get information.
well, I do have a few more bullets. Just give me a second
Okay.
for this jet.
Those numbers can't be right, can it? That's off by an order of magnitude, right?
The
Oh dear.
Takan were quite advanced.
Alright, sorry about that.
Yes.
So the other bit of information you're going to get before you need to spend the momentum is that the reactor is powering a aperture somewhere nearby. And if you had to make an educated guess, this might be very similar to an Iconian gateway.
Ooh. All right, so with the momentum spend,
Mm-hmm.
first question. Is the system in danger of failing in the near future?
It is indeed, either because of time or the Vohiri. The reactor and the portal it is powering. Your best guess, just based on what you're able to determine, is that the whole system will destabilize and shut down within a couple weeks unless repairs are affected. And you would know simply based on, I would say, your experience with engineering that once a system like this shuts down, it takes a lot to get it to work again. So it's one of those things where you either sit here and repair it or you let it just fail, and it will likely be off forever unless you like devote a great amount of resources to fixing it.
All right, and then follow-up question, because I've got studious.
Mm-hmm.
Um. Hmm. Is there any? Let me think. Okay, so we've got a massive antimatter generator powering an aperture, due to fail in the next 2 weeks, and going to be very tricky, if impossible, to repair if it does so. Um. Hmm. Out of character, I'm fielding ideas.
I'm interested to know if the radiation that the Vohiri are carrying might be interfering or speeding up the breakdown.
Yeah, that's worth a try. Yeah, any evidence of radiation damage from the Vohiri?
Oh, there's a lot of it in this facility. Like, you probably could go all of 5 feet before running into such things. But I'll be nice and say that doesn't count as your question.
Okay. In that case, see, it has to be about the facility specifically. So, any information about where the aperture is supposed to lead?
Yes. In fact, if you reference the star chart that Locke has so thankfully been keeping up to date, the Takan symbol in quadrant B1 is supposedly where this aperture leads. So it
Let me check
is
the map.
quite a distance away.
If we are in order to keep this facility operational, we will need to remove the Vohiri. But I do not believe we currently have that capability.
This is a bit of a dilemma, because if we're going to do anything with this thing, we need to get repair teams in here as soon as possible, within days, basically.
There's no way the Vohiri will allow that.
Unless we can find a way to force them to back off for, doesn't even have to be permanently, just a while.
How big would the failure be if this place went critical?
we might
go
we
ahead.
might never get it functional again.
No, I'm just saying is if it went critical and exploded, we're talking destroying the planet, we're talking destroying the system.
Planet.
An antimatter reactor this size, I would not be surprised to see the entire planet detonate.
Would they still want to remain in the system with that kind of shockwave, though? If we could simulate the reactor going in overload, they might evacuate the planet and move their ship out of range of any potential explosion, giving us more time to work on it.
I mean, it kind of depends on how sophisticated they are at picking that stuff up. I mean, what we've seen so far doesn't give me much confidence.
So,
I mean, if
Matic.
it works,
Go ahead.
I mean, if it works, it would be good. But well, let me take a look at the system and see if I can figure out a way to do that without actually damaging the systems.
All right. While he's doing that, Matic, you're kind of looking over his shoulder at the console. You would notice that the aperture does seem to have a. Obviously, you can't do it from here, but it does have a variable setting. Right now, of course, it is a doorway-sized aperture, but supposedly this facility can make a large tear above the installation that could fit a scale 5 or lower starship through.
Anybody feel like taking a trip?
If we split the ship, we can get all three through in a row.
Actually, I think the Ophion is a scale 5.
Yeah, if you're on a scale 5, you
Yeah.
could just go through in one bunch.
I see the possibilities to this suggestion. We would be able to explore what was on the other side of this aperture and would not have to leave sections of the ship behind. However, I am worried about the Vohiri damaging this facility and leaving us very far from our previous location.
Well, it's only 2 weeks away, high warp, so it's not like we'd be stranded in the beta quadrant.
Very well. Let us finish up here, return to the shuttle, and then appraise the captain of our discovery.
All right. Go ahead.
Matic
Yeah,
will download all of the information that he can onto a tricorder or like external hard drive
Right.
equivalent of some sort.
Okay. And Mirthrin, you were saying something?
Yeah, just Metron doing the thing to check if it's possible to fake a core overload.
For this, I'd like you to roll me a Insight plus Engineering. We'll call this a difficulty 3.
I assist question mark.
Sure. Power systems would apply.
Yeah, and I will spend a momentum to get an extra die again because I like succeeding rolls.
I just gave you a critical, so
Yeah. All you need is one success and you win. So, good news,
Ugh,
bad
all these
news.
criticals.
Good news. You could indeed simulate an overload. Bad news. Once you start to simulate an overload, you would have at best 24 hours to reverse the effects of it before the entire system does in fact go critical for real. So if the Vohiri do not leave and let you bring in repair teams within that 24-hour time span, boom goes the planet. So it's kind of a risk-reward thing.
So kind of an all-or-nothing gamble at that front, Mercerman says as he finishes. So I can fake a core overload for about 24 hours, and at that point, the feedback going through the system will turn it into an actual core overload, and this entire planet will become molten rock mist.
At least the Vohiri won't be able to gain access to an Iconian-style gateway.
True.
I mean, granted, personally, I would quite like us to have access to an Iconian-style gateway, but that's just me.
Prepare the preliminaries for this core overload, and then before we leave, set it into motion so that we have enough time to return with the Ophion, if that is indeed what the captain wants.
Oh, well, assuming they don't start swarming the place as soon as they realize it's overloading.
They don't strike me as the type of people who bother fixing things.
No,
Sure
but it
enough.
could be that they come in mass in order to salvage as much as they possibly can with the limited time available.
And I would need a team to reverse the effect rather than just flipping a switch.
All right, you tell me. What's the play?
Well, let's run it by the captain, see what he thinks.
Yeah, well, can we contact Sona from here?
Yeah, it's a little bit staticky, but you would be able to get through.
So if we appraise Sona of the situation and she sends a tight band subspace signal to the ship, that should be undetected, and then we can inform the captain and get the decision.
All right, go right ahead.
All right. Rolls that Sona has to make?
Nah, no rolls needed.
Okay. Clear text message to Captain. Captain will basically send back that it's... Captain will basically send back through texts that it is better for... if we are unable to secure the Takan gateway for Starfleet, then it's probably best that the Vohiri don't get their predatory nature on it.
So, final question. Do we want to explore through the gateway before we hit the button?
I mean, the gateway itself currently goes to B1, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Which, is annoying as heck, but to get to, it's only looks like maybe a month or two at warp. I mean, if this was, in the far side of the Gamma Quadrant, probably, but it's still within the sector, so I don't believe that the risk is worth it.
Alrighty. Alright. Then if we're all set to go, Methrin sort of hovers his hand over the final switch to flick.
Are the Vohiri that were stunned earlier, are they still stunned?
No, at this point they are starting to get up.
Sona will obviously alert Lieutenant Commander Pinek.
Pinek here.
The Vohiri that we had stunned in our earlier assault are regaining consciousness.
All right, Lieutenant. Proceed back to the entrance, stun them again, and prepare for extraction. All right, team. Let's get our stuff together, get out, and we will rendezvous with the Ophion and head through the aperture.
Add a character. Did anyone actually give Methrin the command to hit the overload?
Yeah, I'll give it. Go ahead and
Cool.
start blowing this place up.
The
Or
word
at
is
least
given.
pretend to blow this place up for 24 hours, then blow this place up.
Weep, weep, weep.
Yeah, that's actually kind of what goes on, is that the klaxons begin sounding. And yeah, as you begin to exit the facility, I think this is actually a good chance to end the session, and we'll make this a two-parter. So, yeah, hopefully you guys had fun. Of course, players stick around for after-session chat, but anyone watching on YouTube or Twitch, thank you for watching, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.